Every quotation that you're going to include in your text needs a reference. Every claim or assertion that you make that's not common knowledge probably needs a reference as well. Again, you may assume that people know the Second World War ended in 1945. But if you're going to make a statement like divorce was common among the Jews in the first century, or uncommon, dependent, you're saying something that probably needs to be backed up to show that you're not just making a claim. There's a source where people can go to find out what the argument for this is. How do we know? How do you know what you're claiming? Is it something that, well, mostly everybody or most educated people would know? Is it a fact? Or is it not so clear that what you claim is true and it needs to be backed up to show that you're not just pulling it out of thin air? There should also be a reference if you sort of paraphrase in your own words what someone has argued, so that it's not mistaken for plagiarism. It's not your idea, it's not your information. If you summarize it and it's truly your own words, otherwise it should be a quotation preferably. If it's truly your own words, still it needs a reference so that it's clear where it comes from. This referencing is necessary for that reason, to show that you can back up what you are saying. There is evidence for your claim, for the claim that you're making. That's important. It shows that you've done your homework. It also makes it possible for a reader whose interest is to say, oh, I'd like to know more about that, and find your source and read it for him or herself. So the bibliography is there to show that you've done your work properly and correctly, and of course to show that you give credit to whatever material you're using from other people, that you're acknowledging that that's where it comes from. There's two parts to this referencing. One is the bibliography at the very end of your text, which lists all the sources that you've quoted, that you've referred to in the text, and no others. Only those that also appear in the text will be listed, the full bibliographical information in your bibliography at the end. And then wherever you have a quotation or you need to back something up with a source, that will be indicated in the text as well. Maybe I should finish, we should add one more story. I talked about the research I did, the MA thesis, PhD work, and the thesis, the MTH thesis Francisca did. I loved what I did. These two theses, doing the work for that, is two of the best times of my life. I thoroughly enjoyed the process, studying, learning, research. It was great. Even the writing, that's hard work, but I enjoy creating something, crafting it, finding words for it. These were two of the best times of my life. Francisca, on the other hand, quite enjoyed the research, to do the actual empirical work with the interviews and then analyzing the material. She quite enjoyed that. But the writing, once she got to writing the actual thesis, this was quite an ordeal. And of course, it was a long ordeal because it was an MTH thesis. And she got slower and slower. She needed more and more time for less and less output. And I was proofreading her writing and giving feedback on it. And I noticed not just it was getting less and going slower, the quality was going down as well. Instead of getting better, it was getting worse, really. It was quite an ordeal for her to finish that thesis, but she did. And I guess that's just the way we are different. Some of us love this sort of work, and if that's you, go for it and enjoy it. For some of us, it's really, really hard. Many of us will be in between, I guess. Now, even if you're someone who finds this really, really hard, like Franziska, she did get it done eventually. And you need to realize this is not because you're in any way incompetent or inferior. It's because we're different. It's because you are you. That it's harder for you to do this than it is for someone else. But even if it's really, really hard for you, and perhaps you only do it because you need or want that qualification, or you want the other things that you're learning in the course, I'd say hang in there. It may be tough, but you will be able to complete it and get it done. And actually, I think Franziska's thesis, the end product, is really, really good. I'm perhaps not entirely objective as an observer at this point, but I think it is at least pretty good. She succeeded in the end. So hang in there, do the hard work, wrestle with those tedious spaces and formatting issues and commas and so forth, and get the work done and pass the course.